Right, hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So in today's video I'm going to show you how to get your exterior plastics looking like this and turn them into something like this. So like I say in all my videos, this is not exactly a how-to. This is how I would do it, not necessarily how you should do it. But I mean, it's worked for me in the past, so I think it's going to be fine. The weather today is against us. When I look outside, it's obviously a lovely grey, cold day here in the UK. However, I'm going to leave the parts in the garage to dry. I'm going to use my heat gun as well to warm the parts up and make sure they're good. Right, I'm going to try and make this not a 15-minute video. It's going to be as quickly as possible. I'll show you how to remove the Fiesta ST150 plastic parts. I'll show you how to prep them because there's going to be a hell of a lot of sanding for the honeycomb bit at the front of the car. And I'll also show you how to prime them, paint them, and then obviously put the lacquer on. I won't show you how to put them back onto the car. I mean, I can show you all this whole long boring process, but I want to try and make my video short and snappy, give you some advice if you want to do your car. This will work on other cars if you want to take the plastic trims off, but obviously this is for the ST150. So anyway, let's crack on with it. Right, so just a quick update. As you can see then, the needle from my last video we was messing around with that, and that is now showing all the way up there again, so you can see how busted it is. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to put a little plastic nozzly bit here before the 60 so that this needle should stop there every time I switch off, and hopefully it'll always reach the correct temperature. Anyway, that's not for today's video. Today's video is painting in the cold, so let's crack on. Right, so I'm not sure how well the camera's going to pick up, but you can see here there's quite a few stone chips in all of this. This paint's gone, I think these have been painted before and they've just gone dull. There's some sort of funky, I don't know what that is, some sort of like fly eye kit, I guess that is, on the fog light itself, so I'm going to probably remove that and then just sort of give this a bit of a tidy up. However, it's just going to be a lot of sanding, so you're going to have to sand in every single solitary one of these, clean it all up. I mean, it shouldn't take too long, and I'm hoping this comes off fairly easy anyway. I'll have to remove this, but I've got some sticky pads for that. And then I've spoken to someone already about getting this painted, because you can see there all the sort of stress cracks. I mean, look at this. This is basically where someone's got the lights out here. I mean, I've done it once or twice myself, but I bought the car like this, and it basically, people pull this bit back here, like from here, and then this sort of rips and tears all the paint and just sort of gives it all the horrible stress cracks. So hopefully I'm going to get someone to paint that. I mean, look, car from a distance looks good, but when you look up close and personal, it's absolutely horrific. That is bad. If you're looking to take out the fog lights, there's a small little screw here that just undoes there. Mine have gone rusty, so I need to change that. And then basically this fog light just pops out. Same with the other side. And then for this monstrosity, basically what's meant to happen is it's just meant to clip in two parts. I mean, look, there's a screw there. This thing's just got so many random screws all over the place holding the crap in. It's horrific, but we'll deal with that as we go. Basically that takes this front part out. It's just held in with some clips, some screws at the bottom there, hold it in. This bit here, sorry, should just sits inside there, and then mine had a screw at the bottom, I think it was. Yeah, so mine sits in like that, as you can see, and then in here there's a screw there that kind of holds it in. I don't know if that's a screw that's meant to be there, but it was there along with some other screws all over the shop. But a lot of the clips are starting to break, as you can see there, but I'm not worried about that. I just want it to look better because that just looks horrific. So if I clean it up and give it a sand down, start looking a lot better. I'm not looking forward to doing this bit. So one good tip is get yourself some warm water. I've actually got a hot tap outside. Put all your paint cans in there. So we're looking for the plastic primer, which is there. Autotech, seems alright. I use it on my other little bits and pieces. What I've done here is I've actually keyed up the fog lights around. I've keyed up the silver bit as well because I'm getting rid of that. And then you just want to apply a couple of coats of your primer to that. I've used 600 grit sandpaper, so that should be enough. And we'll see if we get any reaction like we did in my last video. So that's all I'm going to do for the first coat. Literally a light dusting, nothing major, hasn't really got to cover it. Let that cure for about 10 minutes. I'm probably going to get the heat gun on there just to sort of aid it drying, because it's freezing cold today in England. And that should take no longer. I'll do both of them, probably do it about half hour or so, I reckon. Once it's fully primered, I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like. Right, so I don't think I've really realised the true extent of how bad this is, but I mean, once this focus is in, you can see how bad the focus is on this camera. No, so there you can see how bad all of the marks are. I've tried sanding most of them out. I mean, you're not going to see underneath, and I'm going to get a splitter for it. I've sort of got rid of most of them here. It's going to look a million times better, but I'll probably have to get some filler primer for some sections. I mean, look, the state of it, it's horrific. It's just all these little bits in here, all around here. I've gone over it with some Scotch Brite just to make it look a bit better. And obviously I sanded this down with some 640 or 600 I think it was, and it's come out a little bit better, but I'll get some primer on there, filler primer, look good as new. Right, so it's actually turned out to be quite a decent day today. The sun's shining, looking good, car's looking poo. Obviously it's missing all the front end. However, I'm kind of happy with how these have come out. Now please bear in mind, this is not a concourse car, this is just my general run around car, so I'm not entirely too bothered about the finish, but I mean that is looking pretty decent, if I do say so myself. There's a few little rough patches you can see in there, in that corner there, but once I've got the paint on and the lacquer on, and once they're in there, you're not really going to see in these sort of corners either. And I'm having trouble getting that fly eye kit off. I think I have to scrape it off, so I might just leave it. It doesn't look too bad. So you can see on the front bumper here, look, you've got a few like scratches, and well, I say scratches, they're like gouges obviously from the front of the car. Quite a few here, so I'm going to get some filler primer in the hope that sort of hides them a little bit better. The paint's reacted a little bit around the side, so I'm probably going to like sort of rough that up a bit more, let it dry. I'm probably going to let this dry overnight because I don't have any filler primer to hand, but hopefully I'm going to pop out to get some food in a minute from TGI's and try and pop Halfords, see if they've got any filler primer. But I'm going to get some colour on these now because these are looking alright. I mean, it's reacted there. Always get reaction, don't I, when I do painting, but obviously my prep's not probably the best. The key to good painting is prep, and more prep, and then you get the best results. But when you're not sort of too bothered about the car, I'm not really sort of too fussed. I'm going to paint it, see what it comes out like. If it looks alright, I'll keep it. If not, I'll just sand it back. I've done it all before. It just takes longer to do, so I'll let you know when that's done. Right, so I've been out, got some food, and I've come back with me Halford's plastic primer. So this is going to hopefully fill in all the little gaps and stuff on the front bumper here. And I'll just show you what these look like as well once it focuses in. So these are now the finished article. I need to lacquer them. They're quite shiny already, but I'm basically going to let these dry overnight, and these are going to get lacquered tomorrow. And then I'm quickly going to hit this with some filler primer just to fill in all these little gaps. I don't think it's going to do these big ones here, all the little ones. Hopefully it should fix them. So I'm going to do that. I'll let it dry overnight, and then we'll come back to this tomorrow. Right, so day 2 of the paint, and the filler's gone off overnight, and you can see there's quite a few little gouges in there once this focuses in, and the paint's reacted tiny little bit in some places. So what I'm going to do is knock up some filler, and then I'm going to sort of get rid of all of these. I'll show you. So on the front, as you can imagine, you get quite a lot of gouges. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but yeah, you can see there all these little gouges on there. So what I'm going to do is just knock up some filler, get that sort of put on here, get it sanded down. Like I say, it's not a show car or anything like that. I just want it to look sort of half decent. So bit of filler, bit more filler primer, and we'll get this looking half decent, I reckon. Right, so for today's filler, we're going to use some Dolphin Glaze. It's quite a fine finish. Got some hardener there. I can never remember the measurements, but we'll work it out, because basically it goes, if you put too much of this in, it'll go off really quick, and if you don't put enough in, it takes forever to set. So you kind of want that nice amount. I think for every golf ball size amount of this, you put a pea size amount of the hardener, mix it in, get all the air out. This is my mixing board. Whack it onto the bumper and then sand it all back. This stuff is quite easy to sand from what I understand, but we'll see what that's like when it's done. Right, so that's me finished with this. This actually went off quickly. So I reckon this went off within about 10 minutes after I mixed it up. Probably used a golf ball sized amount and then a little pea sized amount of the hardener in there, and that took about 10 minutes to go off. So here is the not finished article, but what I've done is I actually ended up going through and getting rid of all these little like stone chips here. So you can see there's a few little stress cracks I filled in, just all the little sort of bumps and niggles on the car. So I've done all of those. There's a little bit up here that I've sort of patched in where it's just a few little holes. Down there was a nice little hole in this bit here. So I'm going to let this go off. It's pretty much going off already. Going to sand it back, use the filler primer again, let that dry, and then we'll get some paint on this, and then get onto the honeycomb, which is going to be awful. Right, so this is probably the worst bit of painting the front end of the Fiesta. I've basically got to go through and sand every single one of these holes. I'm not going to do a time lapse or anything like that. I just have to take my word that I've used my Scotch-Brite. I'm just roughing up the edges really and inside, just to make sure it's good for the paint to go onto. It's obviously just making sure you clean that all out, degrease it. I've got to probably do this side as well. So it's probably going to take me about half hour, I reckon, to an hour just to sand it properly. So I'm going to do that, get some primer on it, and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Right, so I don't want to film all the boring bits. However, what I've done now is I've got the lacquer, and I've put the lacquer all over the fog light. So it's had about 2 or 3 coats now, so that's looking pretty decent. I mean, there's a few imperfections, but I'm not really sort of too bothered. You can see in there a bit of an imperfection, but again, not too bothered. It's going to look much better than what it did. And then I've just applied the first layer of paint to the front sort of bumper area. Again, the filler didn't really work that well. Look, you can see in there, it's hidden a lot of it, but like I say, I can't really bother too much. This is all at the bottom anyway, and it's going to have a splitter on it eventually, so that should hide some of it. But I was just doing it to make it look a bit neater and tidier, really. Yeah, it's looking pretty decent, to be honest. This needs another sort of 2 or 3 coats. I'm running out of this, and obviously I've forgotten to do this grill as well, so I'm going to take it off and attempt to do that. Got that one in primer at the minute currently, so all looking good. Bit of a mess everywhere. Right, so I'm just doing my normal, getting excited of getting to film. So this has now been lacquered, and this is the front honeycomb, which is starting to get lacquered. Needs a good few more coats to get it shining up. So what I thought I'd do is I'm going to sort of show you how I would do this. So this is the front grille. I've taken off the badge, and then what I've done is I've sanded it down as best I could, getting all the grooves when you're sanding. This takes quite a bit of time, but you can see someone's obviously attempted to paint this before. Yeah, so basically what you will do, sand it all down as best as you can, and then I'm going to use a primer on this. Once this is all dried, I've used brake cleaner, sorry, to clean it all up, get all the grease and stuff off. Let that dry for a bit, wipe it down, and then I'm going to hit it with 3 coats of primer, 3 coats of paint, and then 3 coats of lacquer, and then this should look a million times better. Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's just sort of a painstaking process. Obviously you've got to clean sand, make sure it's good. But I'll show you this once it's in primer and see how we're looking. Right, so the first coat of primer's gone on, but I've used etch primer, so I'm hoping it works. That's all I had. If it doesn't, standard, I'll just sand it back and redo it. But I'm going to let that dry. It looks like it's drying all right. Once the gloss black goes on there, that'll look all right. But I actually quite like that grey colour. You used 3 coats of your primer, and then we use 3 coats of colour, 3 coats of lacquer, and then that's it. The car is done. The other parts are drying now, which I'll show you. So this is the honeycomb bit. Can't really tell on camera, but it's actually decent. It looks so much better than what it did. Nice shine to it. And then the front bit, I mean, look, where I put the filler, it's not really worked, but I'm not too bothered. I'll give that a little polish up. It just looks a million times better than what it did. And then I'll show you on the car in a minute. So that's the fog lights on it in a minute. Looking rather smart. Obviously not the front, rest of it looks a bit poo. Yeah, they look alright. I've taken off the chrome bit as well, so I've blacked it all up, which looks decent. Alright, so as per normal, I didn't film any of the process, but that is now the front grille, or the top honeycomb grille lacquered. So I've had 3 of each, and then I've just re-lacquered this one again, just to make sure I've got every little last bit. So that's looking a lot better. Obviously I've got to put it on. I've cleaned up the front end there, and I'll put it all back together, show you what it looks like. Right, once again, a load of mess in the garage. Once again, we're on day 2, but what I've done is I've let all the parts dry overnight, and now I'll show you a little close-up of what it all looks like. That's the front fogs. Obviously I've painted this bit, it was chrome or silver colour, and I've painted that black now, and they need a bit of a polish up. They sort of do come up quite well on camera, but I'm going to give them a little polish. There's so many little like blisters and white spots. I know it'll come back, but over the moon with that. That's come out really well. Again, all this needs a bit of a polish up here, where the lacquer's just gone a bit funny. As you can see, got a bit of polish and that'll all come up, hopefully. If not, I'll just take it off and redo it. This bit looks really good here, nice shine to it, and thankfully I had enough lacquer etc to do this honeycomb as well. And this was all sort of blistered up here before. I know it'll come back, but for now, I mean, that's just really transformed the front end. Once I get this painted, it'll look better. I think that's really sort of transformed it now, and like I say, over the moon with that. So next thing I want to do is get the TRC aero kit. So obviously that'll go down the sides and down here, and obviously that sort of gloss black will finish off the rest of the car. Yeah, so not, like I say, not really a how-to, but looking much better.